Business as Unusual is a thought-provoking podcast that explores the innovative strategies, disruptive ideas, and unconventional practices driving successful leaders and companies in the ever-evolving world of modern business. Subscribe, comment, and share for weekly inspiration with our host, Aicila.
This is Business as Unusual with Gwendolyn R. Houston Jack, the founder, creative force, wisdom, and executive implementer behind Hugh Jack Digital Marketing Solutions. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So you were just talking about, I read your tagline, entrepreneurship is a career choice. And you said you had things. I was like, let's get into it. Let's just start there. Let's do something a little different today.
Let's get into it. So starting with entrepreneurship is a career choice. Making a business, creating a business, filing the papers to be legal, that's the easy part because everybody and their mother, although I could say everybody and their mama, everybody and their mother is doing it. It's all over social media. You can do this to be a business owner. You can do that. Da, 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 da. That's the easy part. Whether you have the aptitude and should truly travel down that pathway is a different discussion. But being an entrepreneur is not like, it's not a thing, it's not a hobby, it's a job. It is a job. And in my experience, what I have found is if you want to have a thriving career, a long-lasting career, and I know I'm from an older generation where you did 20, 25, 30 years. You got a pension and you go off and retire.
You make it sound like a sentence. You did 25 years.
Doing time, right? Doing time. I get that that's the previous life, but it is still a life. Even if you want to have a 5-year, 7-year, 10-year business, you got to have the mindset that this is a career. It's not a hobby. It's not a thing. It's a job. And if you want to do well in your job, I have found that having an advisor, a mentor, a coach will help you in that realm. So when I took on my own entrepreneurship ways, I found to work with. Coaches have coaches because we understand that you're going to need an advisor. I have a coach, I have a mentor. Mentor and coaches are not the same thing. I know sometimes they intertwine, but I have a mentor and then I have an advisor, i.e. a coach, to help me think through some of the ideas and what have you. But entrepreneurship is a career choice. Everyone doesn't want to go to a 2-year, 4-year college, a vocational something, a trade. Some of us come right out the bat and we want to do our own thing. And that's great. It is a career choice. Okay, if you want to be a barber, hairstylist, whatever, you're working for yourself. But do you have all the tools necessary to be the best business leader for your business? That is where people like me come in. That's where we come in. So, yeah.
Well, and I'll say I won't work with a coach or a therapist that doesn't have a coach or a therapist. That's one of my first questions is, who do you go to? And if they don't go to anyone or they think they know it all, I know we're not a good fit. I'm looking for someone who's curious, who's coachable, who can relate to me and who can understand that what I'm looking for, which is not perfection in itself. It's for guidance, right? Yes. Who understands that dynamic. And I've found that, interestingly, every time I ask that question, and I mean, it's only been a handful of people, there was no one's ever asked me that before. And I'm like, no, everyone should be asking that.
Yeah. You shouldn't be. That should be know.
I agree.
I'm sorry. I know I keep, whenever you and I get together and start talking, we know we are going to overlap.
It's going to go. It's all good. This is real talk.
We overlap and we get to sharing the ideas, but you are correct. In terms of growth and self-development, one of those factors of being a really great business leader, being a leader, let's just go there. I'm going to take the business out, just being a leader, is that you are always working on yourself, looking at self-development, and you are finding the areas that could just be a tweak better, right? We're all striving. We perhaps maybe should all strive to be better. You can't do
Mhm.
it yourself. You can't do it by yourself.
No.
You need to go to a subject matter expert to help you wade those waters. Like, you can't know every single thing. So why would you even assume that you wouldn't need to have another teacher in your life as you are going throughout your own career path? So
No,
that's
I
a
think
very good
that's true.
question.
And I also feel like, and I'm going to plug you here, in that I feel like some people have the gift just by their sense of presence. And for those of you that don't relate to that, just move on. It's fine. But you have that where literally just showing up to engage with you opens something up in my awareness of my business and how I engage. It's always enlightening. You also have like a great set of questions and we have a great rapport and engagement, but there's just something about the way that you are that really and truly can give people access to pieces of their own wisdom that they wouldn't get to otherwise. And it's such a beautiful thing. That's why I said when I was on G's podcast, it was like G brings out the best in her guests. And I stand by that because there's just something about how you show up and pay attention and just your genuine presence that creates something that's new between the two people that are engaging. And it's powerful and it's an amazing gift that I'm so
you.
grateful to have experienced it. And I really love that you've actually been able to turn it into something that you can use to help people on this somewhat rocky path of entrepreneurship at times.
Ooh, yeah. Thank you for that. Like, sincerely, thank you. I think about when I was a kid, like, I've always been somebody's ear. Two things when I was
Mm.
a kid. One, we were always teaching. So I'm going to date myself and I don't mind because I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good over here. But I remember, like, at the end of school, in elementary school, we had teachers who would give away all their extra worksheets. And I was the kid who would take the extra worksheets and host
Mhm.
summer school for the neighborhood kids. And then whatever I couldn't use, I could turn them into hats and sell them for like a quarter and stuff. We were always selling stuff and teaching people. That's how you
Nice.
know that you are on the right path when you do it years later. So I remember in my previous life, I was at the time, a training supervisor. So I wrote training for the department I was in. I wrote training for the entire company. And then I was a familiar face for the employees
Mhm.
because they were like, hey, Gwendolyn, you photograph pretty well. You want to be, you want to be in some ads? I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? And then somebody was noticing that, hey, Gwendolyn is fairly lively. We had a sticker in the training videos. I was like, retail is theater. So I can finally live out all of my acting chops here. But we did impromptu training
Mhm.
sessions. So it was never like scripts. Whatever I said in real life. And that's the beautiful thing. People were like, no, I've seen her say that and make that eyebrow. Like, I've seen her do it. That's a great thing. So my director came to me and said, hey, we have a decision to make. I had a team of really great people who could manage themselves. And keep in mind, as a coach, as a manager, advisor, we just advise. I didn't manage people, I managed careers. So I didn't have to be there to hold somebody's hand. I can
Mhm.
tell them what the objective was, gave them time to work on it because I would be gone for like a month on these store trips. I come back, we meet, we make the next thing, we go on. He said, you got a decision to make. You can either keep your team or you could do the store opening company face thing full time, but you got to make a choice. And my director, he just knew. He knew me. And I told him, I said, well, I guess I'm going to take my people. He was like, wait, what? Wait, I'm sorry, you don't want to travel? And I was like, no, I want to be with my people. Like, people bring
Yeah.
me joy. Seeing someone else grow brings me joy. And he was like, well, I'm going to have you do both. So I'm Bicurean. So I was like, wait a minute, what happened to, I have to pick one. Yeah, he just knew. So I've been doing two things for a very long time. I have
Mhm.
always had a place where I knew how to manage my time for people, but then also manage my own wants and aspirations and what have you. So being a career coach comes naturally. We've been doing it for so long, for so many people. Being able to hear people, see exactly where they are, meet them in that space, and talk it out. really talk it out. And some of it felt like sometimes I am not a counselor, right? I'm not a counselor. So whenever it
Mhm.
kind of crossed over, I said, you need to find you a therapist, kid, because this
Yeah.
is not my expertise. But I hear what you're saying. And I did know that we had employee assistance programs that could take care of that. So we, of course, steered them there. But we have always listened to people. And I had an issue. I mean, I didn't think it was an issue. My boss did, where I literally managed people out of my office, like off my team, because they were in the wrong place. They were not supposed
Mhm.
to be where they were. And I said, no offense to you, you're in the wrong career. We got to get you out of here. And they were like, wait, what? I said, my job
Mhm.
when you came here was to grow your career. And I am telling you, based on what you're telling me, you're not in the right place. So I'm going to help you get to where you need to be. And they were like, but there's no loyalty to, no offense to company,
Mhm.
it's to my team, right?
Yeah.
So we've been doing that for a
Uh,
very long time.
I super feel that. I feel like my commitment is to the team, to the people, and to the greater good, ultimately to the community.
Mhm.
And it shifts your focus. And there's the other thing, and I bet you were this kind of leader too, that your focus was on making other people successful.
Yes.
And I feel like that's one of the things that I've heard in it as a little encapsulation. Like, great leaders don't try to make themselves look good, they try to make their people look good. And I would say not look good, but to actually excel
Mhm.
and to be able to really do their best. And there's a big human component to it, because the reality is that your team, your people, your company isn't going to do well if you have people who aren't in their best zone of effectiveness. If they're in the wrong place, everybody suffers. And it's hard sometimes to get people to see that it's not negative or positive. It's a value neutral statement.
Mhm.
It's, it's like, you're clearly not thriving. What do we need to do to get you to thrive? It's interesting because there's this, and maybe you could speak to this a little. I feel like I'll say things, as you know, outright. And I feel like at times being direct gets received as being critical in like a negative way. And I'm fine. I'm certainly negative at times. Let's be clear. But sometimes just being direct, like, that doesn't work there, turns into like a thing. It's like, no, I'm literally just saying it doesn't work. Like, you got to fix it because that's not functional. How do you find that goes for you? What's your observation around that?
So Gwendolyn, and yes, I refer to myself in the third person, work with the people. Gwendolyn is direct.
Mm-hmm.
However, I have learned with growing my communication skills that there is a place where you can be gracious and also honest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just because you are upfront with people doesn't mean that you are trying to hurt them intentionally, that you are gunning for them, like all the negative things. And the thing about communication, quick little side note, we don't know how to talk to each other. We haven't talked to each other in, I'll just say, in this society, American society, in a very long time. We don't understand how to listen, to hear people versus listening to respond. We immediately shut
Mm-hmm.
down everything and go into they haven't heard me. It's like communication is an art. It's an
Mm-hmm.
art that needs to be practiced and it needs to be honed. And a lot of us stop at a certain spot that I'm right and I'm always right. And I don't care what you just said. It's like, you haven't heard a word I said to you. Like, I just said, I'm going to give you $1,000 and you're still upset. You haven't heard a word
Yeah.
because stop listening. So I get the idea of being seen as direct. Gwendolyn is direct. One of the things that people said about me when I should say did, but celebrated 25 years. We did this yearbook. And in there consistently was, you always know where you stand with Gwendolyn. She's not going to BS you, which I didn't do. But I also took time for every person that I would interact with on my team specifically, right? So if someone came to my team, I would ask them, what is your mode of communication? How do you like to
Mm-hmm.
communicate? How do you prefer to receive feedback? Well, I like criticism. No, feedback, because criticism is subjective. And we're doing
Right.
objective things here, right? Because it's not about me. None of this is about me. How I feel,
Right.
like, it's nothing to do. But I ask those questions to set the stage for what's about to happen, because I know how I am, but I don't know how they are. So the idea of
Mhm.
being direct, we have this fear as a society for hearing what needs to be heard in a timely fashion. We would much rather put our head in the sand, just like not hear about it, pretend like it never happened, versus saying what needs to be said. And it's gone on for so long that when someone does come along and say, hey, the emperor has no clothes, we're like, oh my God, I can't believe you. It's like, cut it out.
Yeah.
So we're at a
Mhm.
place where we need to figure out quickly how to communicate with each other and learn, even focus on becoming better communicators. So I am direct. When people come to me, I tell them I am a jagged little pill. I am not for everybody. Understand that. And everything
Mhm.
is good until they get that first cut, like, oh my gosh, she just cut me. But it's
Mhm.
always delivered with graciousness and understanding who I'm talking to. And I typically will ask for permission before I
Mm.
share something. I'll say, if I may, or may I share a story? Because if they don't want to hear it, I don't want to share it. If they're not in the place to hear it, then there's no point. Because sometimes you'll
Yeah.
share a message, but it's too soon, or they're not ready, and it doesn't resonate. It just falls flat. They're not ready for it.
Mhm.
If you're
Yeah.
emotionally charged, you're not ready to hear anything. Like, I've previous life, current life, even, because as a business owner, I don't have very many customers who cross that line because I'm particular about who I work with. But I do understand that people do get agitated. They do get upset. I get it. So when I talk to people, I ask them, are you able to have an adult conversation, or should I call you back when you feel better? And people be like, excuse me? Because if you're not at a place where you want to hear what is being said, there's no need for us to talk. I mean,
Yeah.
you screaming and yelling and all this stuff, I'll give you a minute to do your temper tantrum and then I'm done. I don't have that kind of patience.
Yeah.
I have this much capacity for that, like this much. And even that's a lot. But once you've
Yeah.
done it, we can't go back there. So if you're not ready to actually get a resolution to your issue, then I will call you back when you feel better. It's perfectly fine. And
Yeah.
customers hang up on me. And I was like, did I lose them? Did I lose them? I'm sorry. Did you? I hung up on you. Oh, I'm sorry. So should I call you back? Because you're not ready to talk about it. It's a different way, but when you're upfront and honest about what's about to go down, people are taken aback. But direct, yeah, Gwendolyn's direct. You will always know where you stand. I'm very intentional with my words. I don't like to go around the mulberry bush, but I ask people, again, how do you want it? You want it right between the eyes? Or do you want it like marshmallows, fluffy and soft? And then I will follow based on what they tell me.
Nice. I love it. But also the graciousness, I think, speaks to what you started with, where you're committed to the team and to the career. And that's different than being maybe committed to the ego or to like self-preservation. And I do think that it's a tricky widget because I feel like some people are into brutal honesty because they like the brutal part. And I know that's not you, but it's the way I observed that there's this place of people like, well, I was being honest. And I'm like, yeah, you were kind of
It's a
being
cop-out.
mean honest though.
Yeah.
And there are times when you have to like be so succinct. I get it. But I think of it more as a pattern. Like if somebody consistently is sort of mostly brutally honest, it's like, yeah, I think maybe that's what you're into.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't, I don't think it's any better. I think that you can find, and it sounds like you have found that balance. And I think it's a powerful thing. And it's a good thing to model because being able to, it's kind of like I make the distinction between, accountability and punishment.
Yes.
I'm not for punishment. I think punishment is inhumane and cruel, actually.
Yeah.
I'm for accountability. And accountability it's a process and it's about a lot of pieces. And it's not always as quote unquote satisfying to external people, but as a parent, I really saw that distinction was hugely impactful in as my kids have gotten older. I can see the results and I respect and like them, and that feels good. And I think that's mostly them, obviously, but I feel like those are the kinds of things that can get between them and being who they are. Like, you're punishing them, they become fearful, they become withdrawn. And I feel like that totally translates to work environments. If people feel safe asking for help, making mistakes, admitting that they made mistakes, not only is the company going to do better, but they're going to thrive as people. It's a weird thing where doing the right thing leads to better results. But it takes more time to cultivate that relationship and that awareness.
It takes work. It takes work.
It takes work.
It is also, there's a commitment there. I was thinking about this on the way back from visiting some family. Had a road trip, plenty of time to think on a road trip, right? But I read this article about communication and how there are some people using work email as a tool to hurt others, where they would blind copy people and they would share private messages to so-and-so to get someone in trouble. First of all, we're adults. Using the phrase "in trouble" is beyond juvenile. So let's just go ahead and call that what it is. But why are we doing that? Like, why is that even a thing? That this is where we are. But when you haven't taken the time to invest in your people, in terms of, as you say, creating an environment for them to speak freely without this fear, without the idea of, I don't want to get in trouble. It's like, we are 40, 30 something, 50 something years old. Are you guys kidding me? We're not 2. We're not 3. Yeah. Like, what are you talking about? But when you don't set the foundation for how you communicate and asking for other people's opinions and ideas, and I want to know what's going on, then you get that sort of backbiting thing happening in your workplace. And for entrepreneurs, there are a lot of people who want to scale their business. I think it's a great thing. However, are you great with communicating? I just want to know, because you're now working with other people who are looking to you for direction, who are impacting your customer in some form or fashion. And just bringing on a couple of extra hands does not equal as training them or whatever else, or setting the tone for how you work with your customers. Like, there's a lot of work that goes into there, into that dynamic. But this is that part when I think about when you have people who, again, entrepreneurs, I start a business, I'm going to hire my friends or my family or Jimmy off the corner. It's like, are you ready for that? Are you sure about that, kid? You want to jump into something like that? And we need to work on your communication. We need to work on how you focus on your customers. We need to work on all of these things, a strategic mindset, right? Like all of these things that people take for granted when they start the business. Being a leader in your own business is easier said than done. I'm just going to go ahead and call it, especially if you've never, I'm going to say, work for somebody else, because you do pick up a little bit of skills and what have you when you work for someone else. You see an example of how it could be done. You don't have to do it the exact same way, but you see an example. So imagine going from school to being a business owner. I would hope that there was somebody who modeled that for you, but hope is not a strategy. It's merely without a plan. So I've been told, and I have told others. So we're not going to hope.
No. One of the things that you're bringing to mind for me is that I feel like, and I struggle with this myself, it's part of why I haven't expanded with more people, is I'm still working to understand the things that I do best are implicit. They're intuitive for me.
Okay.
And so one of the things I've been doing for the last year or so is really working to understand and make them more explicit, because I can't actually pass those things on to someone until I can make a list of actions and steps. And prior to this process of like evaluating, like, what are those? It's sort of, well, you just do this. It just do what feels right. And I know I've run enough businesses and raised kids and managed community events. I know that's not helpful. Nobody's going to go do what feels right. I mean, they will, but it's not going to be what I expect.
Yeah.
That's not fair. It's actually really unfair. It's, it's mind reading. to a certain extent that you're expecting. But I feel like that process of making things explicit is hard sometimes to communicate to people, like, that that's what you're trying to do. And it's funny, right? Because I help other folks do it, but it's really hard to do it for yourself too. Clear, I have like coaches and development people that are helping me with that for exactly that reason, because you cannot do it yourself. So instead of hiring people to do things for me, I've been hiring people to help me figure out what I need to do to be able to hire people to do things for me.
Yes.
So can you talk about that with your folks? And are they good at listening? I feel like sometimes entrepreneurs are a little my way. And I guess you're pretty picky about who you work with, but do you ever confront that sort of like, oh, that my way thing? Or is it more before you've gotten into it, you've realized that, that's not maybe the best fit?
Yeah. So I'll answer both part of your question. The first part that we talk about with people, and we'll say, for example, the idea is I want to scale the business, or when someone comes to me and they bring their question, because we'll do a free 30-minute consultation. It's just a quick chat. It's just a chat. It really is. It's just, tell me about what you're doing and why you felt the need to call me. So we'll talk to them about it. And one of my previous jobs, because again, I wrote training and everything, is to document. I had to go in and document processes, because there was a time where everybody was doing it their way, and that doesn't create consistency, and you can't have best practices, and you can't create key performance indicators. You need to have a standard before you say, oh, just go do this. Like, okay, but what's the best practice for XYZ? Yeah. Got to document it. And so we would follow people around. So I asked people, like, do you have what you do every single day, 7 days a week? Do you have it documented? And they're like, documented? Like, yes. Like, here's how we open the day. The day starts at 10 o'clock. So I actually get in 5 before that. Phones turn on, right? First is to check for email and check for orders that came overnight, or check for like whatever it is. Like, there should be a checklist of how you open your business, how you shut your business down. What's your address? How do you answer the phone? Like, all these things that we take for granted because we are solopreneurs. But if you're going to bring somebody else in, you got to have it. I am one person. I have a SharePoint site. That has my emails as templates. It has the best practices. So if I ever decide to bring somebody in to do XYZ, there is a place waiting for them to get all these documents. Straight behavior, by the way. I'm sorry.
What?
Straight
I love that
behavior.
I love that. No, I'm a documenter as well, partially because I learned about myself that the first time I do anything, I do it the best. And when I was running the center in Tacoma, we were putting together a fundraiser, and so the first year I did it, and I really did a great job. I'd never done anything like that before. And then the next year I went to do it, and I missed a bunch of details that I had totally gotten that first year because I didn't write a list, right? And so the second I was like, oh, I'm not just making lists for other people. I'm making lists for future me. Yes. Like, there's something about the kind of attention I give something the very first time I do it that is a little bit more, I guess. And so if I document that first effort in more detail, and then I follow that template with some iteration, of course, it just continues to get better instead of me reinventing something I did better 4 years ago.
Yes. Yes.
Like, well, there you go. Lesson learned.
It's something that we do. Like, I tell people often, if they want to get better at something, depending on what the task is, record themselves, right? So I knew that if I had to write a training, I would record myself delivering the training because I'm writing for everybody else. And then I would go back in, transcribing everything. I'd be like, oh my God, that was awful. Take that out. It's like, oh, that was great. Let's add that in. So there is a place where you got to write this stuff down for everybody else, because it's not just for you, it's for you, but even you should be meeting your standards every single.
Yeah.
So that's one. Now the second part is about entrepreneurs who know everything, because we know everything. Like, hello, entrepreneur here. All right.
Yeah.
So when I talk to people, like in that consultation, kind of get a feel for where they are. When people share everything, I'm like, okay, I've got somebody who is willing to give all the things, but they're also taking notes. As they say, I need you to slow down because I'm taking notes. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I can slow down.
Mhm.
And then there are people that when I ask certain questions, their response gives me an idea as to which way this is going to work. Now, the one thing I tell people is nothing changes if nothing changes.
Mhm.
Understand that. Yes, you are paying for this, but I'm not the kind of person who sleeps at night knowing that I'm wasting your money. But more importantly, hate to say it, wasting my time.
Mhm.
It's still my time, right?
Yep.
When I work with somebody, you get the joy from seeing the success of somebody else.
Yep.
I remember when she was like this big and look at her now, and I'm like, that's a good thing to see people thrive and flourish and just spread their wings. That's why I do what I do. Now, yeah, I get paid for it, but I also want to see people thrive and flourish. Like you need both,
Mhm.
not just the money. Like it's not that. So there have been times when we have met people and we come to this impasse. It's like, look, we got to figure something out because we've met a couple of times and I don't let it go very long. Like by meeting 3, we have to have a meeting of the minds. Now we set the tone, like the tone is set. It's kind of like working with your fitness coach, a dietitian, talking to your doctor. Like we can tell you what needs to be done for you to meet XYZ as a result. Whether
Mhm.
that truly is your choice because you're grown. Like it can't make you do whatever you don't want to do. However, we can also end the relationship. Be like, you know what, this isn't working.
Yeah.
It's not working because I'm giving you the advice that you're seeking, and you're giving me back this whole other thing of, well, this is why I want to do this, and this is why I'm thinking. But did it ever occur to you that you bring in an advisor because we're seeing it from some other view? I'm up here. I'm way up here. I'm like outside. I'm in space looking down. So I'm seeing all the things because I'm not close to this. You are like super close to it. You are like side
Mhm.
twins. I don't have that attachment. So I can see a
Mhm.
bigger picture and say, let's try something different. Let's not take this first adventure. Now, again, dating myself, I love choose your own adventure books. Do they still make those? I don't even know. I'm asking
They
questions.
actually had a Choose Your Own Adventure Netflix show.
What? Okay,
Mhm.
I have to get into that.
I got you.
So I was that kid who, like, the first time I read it, I would just go and take the adventure without knowing. And then I became the kid, like, I want to know what happens back here. But I'm willing to try something different. Because even
Yeah.
when I have my own events or campaigns, I'll do something based on what I've always done and trying something new.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, I got half and half results. Here's what worked well. Here's what I'm going to do different the next time.
Yeah.
If it worked well, you keep that. If you miss something, we're probably going to take that one out because that's not so great. Like that fell flat. Okay, well, I'm not going to do that. Right? But even I give my
Mhm.
own self feedback, or I'll ask friends, hey, when you looked at this, what was your thought? Oh, well, this was great. Might want to try this next time. Perfect. Great. But every blue moon, you'll meet somebody who's not ready for the change. That's what I tell them. I get that you want to have a coach. I think it's beautiful. You're not ready for the change. You're not ready to change yet. What do you
Yeah.
mean? Your behaviors, the words you choose to use, and the fact that we're in the same boat we were in 3 weeks ago. We're
Yeah.
not moving. We're just in this boat looking cute. And I don't even have champagne next to me. So that's a problem.
Right, exactly. I mean, they're neglecting their coach when they fail to
I'm
give you the
going to just
champagne
be
treatment.
right. If I'm just going to be here and be cute, at least give you a cocktail. But you tell them, like, look, this is not the right time for you, and it's okay. Come back. Come back
Yeah.
here. Or it could be, despite the fact that we have this great synergy, I'm not the right person for you. Because it could be either one. And I've had that. I have had persons in my former life who were on my team when I said, you know what, I am not the right coach for you because I am not here for you when you need me.
Yeah.
We got to get you a better manager. And we like, you have to know when it's either you or it could be the other person. It could be timing. It could be you. Sometimes it's me. So it's like, you know what, I'm not the right person for you. But because of networking, I may know someone else who may be a better fit.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I'm perfectly fine with it. So yeah, that happens from time to time. Not very often, because again, like we fill out the energy and we do the consultation. And it really, I shouldn't say consultation, it's really a chat. Because sometimes like when people are working on, I'm like, woo, that is not what we do. No.
Yeah.
That's not what Gwendolyn does. Or it could be, okay, I hear what you're saying. I have ideas. Do you want to talk about what this could look like? And then we go down that path.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I usually ask people about advice. Do you have advice that you like to give or that you've received that you feel has been consistently helpful or inspiring? What's your theme song? That's another good one I've never asked, but feel like I should start asking.
Do you really want to know my theme song?
Of course I do. Are you kidding?
I'm trying to say it with a straight face, but it literally blasts in my car at least 3 times when I'm driving. Bitch Better Have My Money by Rihanna. Gets me pumped.
I love it. That's so great. I think I need to start asking everybody their theme song.
She's like,
and you just shout it too.
I mean, it just gets you, it gets you like, yeah, going for it. I'm going, yeah. No, it is my theme song. It plays, but my husband even likes it now because it's played so often in the car. He's like, nice. Okay. So, yeah, that's my theme song. But do I have advice for people?
Yeah.
I do. And I've shared this quite often. Like you'll see it. It's on my social media pages and things, but it is give yourself the space and grace to grow and learn. We're humans. We are humans. And it comes from a couple of places. One, I'm a former marathon, half marathon, 10K, 5K, 15K, all the Ks.
All the Ks, okay.
All the Ks. I'm a former runner. I don't run anymore like I used to. But when you're running, it's a single person sport. Now, when you're starting, you're like, everybody's passing me up, everybody. And then you soon realize it's not about everybody else. It's about you. It's about you. Because you start creating these personal records and you start collecting, as we like to say, race bling, i.e. medals. Former Girl Scout, we love stickers, we love badges, we love medals. Okay. We will run for the medals and for chocolate and for wine. So that's all. They all have runs.
I so align with you.
I know. Right? But you learn when you do these single person sports, it's about you and your personal records, your PR. It's not about anybody else. If you're 5 seconds faster, great. If you're 1 second faster, great. Yeah. But you train for it. You don't try to kill yourself, literally running too fast and finding the wrong rhythm. You practice. You get out there and you practice. You show up for the practices. Because I've done marathon practices by myself. I've done it with the run club. But that's a commitment to today is my 12-mile run. And you're just out there running with your theme music playing in your playing out there. But you're running. You're like, okay, it's going to be a great race on Saturday. It's going to be a great race. I'm going to get my next PR. I'm going to get, and you find yourself going for the gusto. Now, there are pace runners on these races, typically half marathons and marathons, which means you may have a person that inspires you or someone that you admire. You don't want to duplicate what they're doing, but you're watching them and you love to see what they're doing. You're like, oh my God, she's killing it. He's killing it. They're doing all the things. I'm so excited. They just inspire you to keep going for something more, not duplicating, right?
Right.
Not trying to be the same, but they inspire you that says, you know what, maybe I should go for XYZ. Maybe I should go past the 5K and do the 10K. I can do it. I can do this too. I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Those kinds of things keep you focused. So when I'm doing stuff, I keep in mind, and I got this because I did a 10K. Nope, I did a half marathon in Waco. And I crossed the finish line. I'm getting my medal. I'm catching my breath. And I'm like, ooh, got it done.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady says, I was trying to keep up with you the entire race. And I was like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
I was her rabbit, as we call. Everybody has a rabbit. Somebody who wants to, you're like, I don't have to keep them, but if I could just stay close, I know I'm going to meet my PR, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I've been watching you the entire time and I've seen you at other races. And I was like, wait, somebody's watching.
Yeah.
Somebody's always watching you. Now, you're not
Mm.
doing what you're doing to be watched, right? To meet someone's expectations. You're doing it for you. Plain and simple.
Right.
But give yourself, one, the space to do it. Go out on a limb. Take a chance. Like, what's the best thing that can happen?
I love that question.
What's the best thing? Not what's the worst. What's the best thing that can happen? You make more connections. People invite you to their podcast. Hello, world. Hello. Good to see all of you, right? You write a book, you get a book deal. Who knows? Like, all these things could happen if you just do one more thing, right? The other part is graciousness. And sometimes the words we say to ourselves, that inside voice, girl.
Yeah.
We have said some things. We used to say some things. We don't anymore. Now, I will find myself saying, Gwendolyn, Renee, Houston, Jack, get it together. I will say that, but that's about as good as it gets. We don't do the, you're ridiculous, you're stupid, I knew it would, like, we don't do that. That's, no. We only have gracious, loving words on this side. Girl, if I met you a badass. I said, yes, I know. Tell me again.
Well, and
graciousness.
Gwendolyn and I are both in a group with the Peggy MacArthur. She's actually the person that introduced us, and she has a swear jar in her community. And her swear jar is not for typical swear words. It's for things like saying you're stupid. And I love it. And I mean, I've been called out more than once. And then after I've been in a couple of group meetings, I'll be going around the house and I'll say something, oh, that was dumb. And I'm like, oh, I got to put money in the swear jar. And I'm like, there's no swear jar here. What are you doing? You're infecting me with your goodness. But it's true. What we say to ourselves matters. I'm going to put a plug for a book I read in January called The Experience Machine, where they talk about we are essentially self-fulfilling prophecies as people. So if you can shift, and I know for those of you who fought the affirmation wave, you got to surrender. You got to surrender because it's actually real. It's all these people knew what they were talking about, and it makes a difference. If you set up in the morning and you say, I am, powerful, creative, capable. I know how to address the things that are coming at me and deal with the things that I don't understand. Whatever that is, you are a self-fulfilling prophecy. And the likelihood that you will achieve the things that you are most interested in achieving and be the person that you want to be increases multiple amounts by standing in those words. And it's not this secret. It's not like you aren't doing work. It's that the way our brains work, we actually will trigger actions to fulfill those statements.
Yes, we do.
That's how we do.
It is a way of thinking. It's a way of learning. And like any old dog, we can learn new tricks. You can learn new tricks. You can move.
I'm working on it. I'm really working on it.
You can.
I just had that skepticism and it didn't serve me. So those of you who are like, I'm not a, blah, 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 I'm a realist. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. If you're,
I'm a realist.
But, and I'm not saying, trust but verify, all that, but like that really, truly.
I remember trust but verify. It's okay. So you can have both. You can still have both. I am a realist.
Yeah.
I do believe when I set goals for myself and I ask myself, have you done everything you could possibly do to make this successful. And if I say no, it's like, then let me get back there. If I choose not to do it, I am clear. It's like, because I just don't feel like doing it. And I'm clear with that. I'm like, you know what? I will hold myself accountable, which I do. I'm like, Gwendolyn, don't feel like doing it. We ain't doing it. They're like, okay, well, then we're not doing it. Now, I know I'm talking like plural and stuff. Work with it. Okay. All of the geniuses speak like this. So just ride with it. But it does work. It does change how you see the world. It does change how you go into rooms. People are like, how do you walk into the room with so much confidence and faith? Because, hello, have you seen me? They're like, oh, that's
legit.
Now, granted, I get it. We come from a generation where you don't brag, you don't boast, you don't toot your own horn, you don't do all these things, and then you wait for somebody to do it for you. And it's like, anybody got time for that? Anybody got time for that? Like those days are over. They are over, and they are highly they're over. Nobody got time for that.
Oh, that's funny.
But there is so much more that we are capable of. We have so many gifts. So many gifts. Have fun with it. That's what I say. Go out there and have fun with it. There you go. There you go. Yes.
So I'm confident everyone's going to want to know more, learn more. I'm going to put your social media handles and links in the show notes so people have easy access to that. Any other good ways, like things that you recommend for people that want to get in touch, recommend you to a friend, hire you themselves? Like how do they connect?
The best place, I don't even know why I said, don't say, as we used to say in speech class. The best way to connect is on LinkedIn, right?
Okay.
It's a great way to connect. And the other best place would be Instagram. Now, I will say this. I am true to my word. If you reach out to me, I will talk to you. I will talk to you. Like, I don't have this whole deal of, is she going to call me? Is she going to? Yes, I'm going to see you. Like, can we sit and chat for a little bit? Because we're connected, but I don't really know you. I want to get to know you. I want to actually get a chance to talk to you through phone call, through a virtual chat. So I actually do that. Which for some people is like, oh my gosh, she's actually talking to people. Yes, people, connecting means talking to other people. Okay. It's not just collecting numbers on some screen. But yes, LinkedIn and Instagram. And Instagram is, I'm under Black Power Bunny. I don't have my legal name. I think it is there. I think it's there, but it's Black Power Bunny. That's my handle.
That's great. I love that handle.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's all of it. And you're right. I'd say you're the whole package. And that's a great, and that's there was this, I think it was a TikTok person. They were like, you're the whole package. You just might not be at the right address. And I was like, that's it. I am the whole package. And I'm looking for the right addresses that that are looking for that package, because I think that's so important that we have to be that fullness. And sometimes that means, like you were saying, whether it's business or personal, that address may not be the right place. It's okay. There's nothing right. It doesn't mean anything bad about them or you. I feel like, to go back to full circle, you're talking about with communication, learning to recognize that not being the right fit is a value neutral. There's no bad there. It's simply the way it is. There's 8 billion people on the planet. You don't want to fit with anyone every way. You'd be exhausted, never sleep.
Right. It's people see it as a failure. It's not a failure. If you really are about serving other people, right? If you're about serving other people, you are going to know when, say, you know what, this is not working for you, and therefore I need to get you the right person. I'm a photographer as well. And I've had people where I'm thinking, this is not going to work out. Let me go ahead and recommend you to some of my fellow photographers who do XYZ, because that's going to be I'm a handful. Actually, I'm a couple of handfuls, like a barrel, a bushel, a bucket, a galvanized tub. I'm a tub, galvanized tub. So there's a lot. I am high energy from the moment I get up until like late night. And that's without, I don't do like coffee and stuff. I just do like water. So even without anything, this is who you're dealing with. It can be a bit much for some people, and I'm fully aware of that. And I tell people, look, we may not be the best fit. Now, can I tone it? I can always meet my audience where they are. But I also know that when I'm coming in, I'm kicking down doors. Like, I don't come in like, what is that? Is it April and May? Like, come in like the lamb and leave like the lion? What was that?
It's April.
April showers, right?
It's March, comes in like a lion and leaves like a lamb.
There you go. I know it's one of the months. I know it's one of them.
Yeah. It's the things our grandmas taught us.
I know.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for giving me your time. I appreciate you beyond.
Thank you for having me.
Me too. I appreciate it. Thanks everybody for listening, and make sure you go follow Black Power Bunny and make sure you're ready for the whole package because it is 100% worth it.